Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times. I'm the Man of the West, also from the Prancing Pony podcast. Thank you for joining me for folks' favorite Fandom Friday. Now, every Friday for 15 weeks now, I've had the chance to visit with somebody from the wider world of the Tolkien fandom. Writers and musicians, artists, craftsmen, scholars, content creators, and more. And today we're welcoming a content creator who I hope you will enjoy and follow. Her videos are entertaining and insightful, funny and snarky, but most of all, genuine. Her love of Middle-earth and her knowledge of the lore come through, and I've enjoyed everything that I've had the time to watch. Folks, let me introduce you to Jess of the Shire, a.k.a. Part-Time Hobbit.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
It's good to have you. Thank you so much. Sounds like a storm's rolling in there. Is that,
that was the loudest thunderclap I've heard in a while, but the lightning was pretty far away from it. So it's a little ways out despite the tornado.
Either that or you have a really bad problem with your plumbing. I'm not sure which it is, but I'm hoping it's thunder. All right. Well, Jess, first I want to ask you a question that I ask everybody who comes on any of my shows. How and when did you first encounter Middle-earth? And what is it about Tolkien's works that keeps you coming back?
Yeah, so you might not like this answer, but since I was born in 1999.
Okay, I don't like that answer.
Yeah, I grew up with the movies. My dad is a huge nerd. He loves all things Middle-earth, Dune, Star Wars, etc. And so he made sure that we watched them, me and my two older sisters, as soon as they came out. So it's literally from before I have memories. Some of my earliest memories are sitting on the couch and my dad covering my eyes at the scary parts.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much always been in my life, and I kept finding myself coming back to it. And then during the pandemic, I finally had time to sit down and read the books. So yeah. And I'd say the thing that keeps me coming back is that sense of comfort, but it's also the way that Tolkien plays with storytelling and the art of storytelling. And he has such a masterful grasp of what it means to tell a good story.
It sure does.
So, yeah, I'm just fascinated by it.
Good stuff. Well, I would like to talk a little bit about the video that seems to have played a role in growing your channel so much in recent months. And it's the one you did on Tom Bombadil. Now, beyond your incredible bravery to actually sing on a video, rather well, I might add, I say that because Sean and I used to sing on the show all the time, much to our listeners' chagrin. You took on one of the hardest questions in all of the Tolkien fandom. I thought you did it really well. Tell us about the video. What made you decide to do it? What was your research and writing process like? And honestly, did you expect it to be as popular as it has been?
So no. Right off the bat, to answer that last one. No, absolutely not. So we were actually talking about this, preparing videos ahead of time. It's something that I'm not always good at. And so this was one of those videos where I was really behind and I had a long weekend. So I wanted to get ahead. So I decided what I would do is I would wake up Friday morning because I had the Friday off, write the script, go out and film it, and then have it edited by the next Saturday, like by the next day. That
whole thing was a one-day thing. Research, writing, and recording.
It was.
Even more kudos then. Wow.
I tend to find that my best work is stuff that's like that, where I kind of just...
Where you have to rush it? And
because you don't think. It's all instinct. So, yeah, it really wasn't a particularly long research process for that. I had been thinking about it for a while, obviously, as I think everybody in the Tolkien fandom does. But I figured that every other Tolkien YouTube channel had their Who is Tom Bombadil video. And I was like, well, I need something to put out today. So I guess that's what I'm going to do.
I'm almost wondering whether I need to do a Tom Bombadil video just to get my watch hours to 4,000 or something.
I think you might have to. That's what cut it for me.
It's sort of like the magic thing. I noticed even with my friend Matt, the Nerd of the Rings, his Tom Bombadil video was like one of the highest ones for his. But
it's I think
it bugs people. Like, I want to know, who is Tom Bombadil? Don't we all?
It timed out well with the Magic the Gathering cards dropping too.
Yes, it did.
I didn't even realize that was happening, but people in the comments let me know that that's probably why I got that extra push.
So, the fact that you didn't know that the cards were dropping at that time and how that benefited you, we would call that spabimmy here in our community. That goes back to Ainulindalë, which is, of course, the opening prologue there to the Silmarillion. There's a line there when Melkor rebels and Iluvatar's talking to him about him as all these bad things you did. You shall prove but mine instrument in doing all these other good things. And it's sort of our shorthand way of kind of referring to the hand of Iluvatar intervening. So
some things are meant to be.
Exactly. So little spabimmy right there, and now your video pops, and the next thing you know, everybody knows who the part-time Hobbit is or who Jess of the Shire is. And it's a fantastic video, folks. Go check it out for sure. I wish we had time to also talk about the Faramir video come I'm a Faramir stan, and I, like you, felt like
I can talk about it a little bit if you want.
I know, but we've only got let's come back to this. Let's come back.
Okay, we'll backtrack.
Depends on how quick, because I want to make sure we get some other things in here as well.
Sounds good.
It looks like you started this about 1.5 years ago, so maybe spring of 22. That was a very interesting time to be a part of the Tolkien community.
You can say that again.
It was a very interesting, as the build-up to Amazon's television adaptation, The Rings of Power, was reaching its zenith. Being on YouTube at that time in particular, because it is sort of known as being kind of a place where there are a lot of controversial and kind of conflicting and adversarial things, meant seeing some really unpleasant videos. Has your experience, specifically as a YouTuber, changed how you view the Tolkien fandom? And then secondarily, kind of related, are you connected in any way to the larger Tolkien community, like through organizations or moots or giving talks and things like that?
Yeah, so it was a very tricky time to come into it, especially because I'm not an inherently critical person. I always say that I'm not a critic, I'm just a casual enjoyer of most things. I just like most of the stuff that I see. So, like, Rings of Power, I haven't actually put out a video on my official thoughts about it because I'm scared too.
I can't blame you. Yeah.
The one video I did put out about Rings of Power was like, it blew up at the time. What blowing up meant for me, it got like 3,000 views in like a week or two, which was pretty good.
Yeah.
But it was mostly people in the comments telling me that I should like try and read the books and that kind of thing.
I know, because I actually watched your 1,000 sub video.
My secret video.
That is hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, I got a lot of truly rancid comments on that video.
You really did. Yeah. That's good for you. Yeah.
And so I've kind of been scared to talk about it since, but like I have my problems with it, but I also like enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the Rings of Power. So it's kind of a hard space to be in the fandom, but especially my audience pre the Tom Bombadil blow up, I'm still kind of working on winnowing out the weirdos. No offense, guys, but
watching this, I promise.
I've tried to develop a very like welcoming community and one that's willing to accept things for the good parts of them and to critique the bad, but also to not be angry about it. And at least that's a community I'm trying to foster, because I think that's where the Tolkien community is going to grow.
I think as a whole, you're right. I think that's who we are for the most part. I mean, if I can speak frankly, I don't think a lot of the people who are ticked off about it all the time are really necessarily Tolkien fans.
No.
They're just sort of like randomly angry people finding something to be ticked off about this week. Because we see that too in the fandom, and it has been a hard time. But I like the way you're going with that. We think of it here as sort of like we're not gatekeepers, right?
Yeah,
we're lore masters. We'll teach you more if you want to know more. If all you want to know is the Rings of Power, and that's all you want to know, great. You're a fan. You just don't know the books yet. And wow, one of these days you're going to be pleasantly surprised to read the books.
And like, all I can think about is the fact that like some kid is going to have that on the TV and they're going to go, I want to know more about this.
Exactly. Like growing up with the movie. That's exactly, yeah.
And I think I have a kind of unique perspective as someone that didn't grow up initially on the books.
Yeah.
So yeah.
More and more of that. More and more of that in the Tolkien community. And that just makes sense. I mean, as you look at a graph of time, the further we go in time, the more and more people will have come to Tolkien through adaptations first.
Yeah.
And, some of them are going to be through Rings of Power first. And that's great. Whatever it takes to get in the door. Quick lightning round. And if it is quick enough, we'll come back and chat about Faramir.
Okay.
For all your videos, which one's your favorite?
Oh, I can't even remember the videos that I make. I make so many of them that I just forget. Yeah. Probably right now it's the Veggie Tales Lord of the Rings one that I did.
That's been on my list to watch. I haven't watched it yet.
It's a great video in my humble
son loves
opinion.
Lord of the Beans, and he gives me grief because I tease him about liking Lord of the Beans. So now I think I have to watch that.
I came out of it a fan of the Lord of the Beans, sort of. So
okay. That's going to be fun. All right. I'll watch that one. Favorite poem or song in the Legendarium?
Baron and Luthien. From a very early age. I'm a musician. I'm was taught to be a singer before anything else. And so I very, very much connect to that story. I love it.
Excellent. And now, if you were a full-time Hobbit, which one did you most be like?
Ooh, I want to say Sam, because like, who doesn't want to be Sam? But I'm probably more of a Pip.
Yeah. Don't we all? I think we just sort of embrace our inner Pip and just.
I mean, you have to. That's the only option.
Yeah. Balrog wings, actual or metaphorical, this may determine how much longer you're on the show.
It's got to be metaphorical. I don't think he made any specific, like, I think they look cool.
Oh, they do, yeah.
I think they look super cool,
Wings
but I
of
don't think
Shadow and
there's much.
Flame would definitely look cool.
I just don't think there's a lot of canon to that one.
No, all right. Well, we do have a few minutes then. Let's talk about the Faramir video, because I got to say, one of the things that impressed me was kind of how you went a little bit far afield and you brought in Oedipus Rex to talk about Denethor, and all in this context of talking about Faramir. Give us a little bit of a breakdown of what motivated you to do that video and maybe what your process was there.
Yeah, so all of those videos, I just kind of start by looking at Reddit, if I'm being honest, and just going looking at people that are like, what are the differences between these two characters? Because everybody's asking about every character at some point, just to get people's initial opinions, because I have my own opinions going into it that usually end up completely different from what it is.
Well, at least you don't go in and you just confirm your biases, you know.
Yeah. I like to have my mind changed about this kind of stuff as I think about it. So especially the Faramir video, because I grew up on the movies, there was always a part of me that was kind of like, I'm kind of okay with movie Faramir. Like, I think book Faramir is better, but like, I understand why they did it. But as I looked further and further into it, I think Faramir especially shows the limitations of film and just what sometimes you just can't get across in film. And in terms of like bringing like Oedipus Rex into it, I find a very specific type of joy in bringing in obscure facts from my theater education, because I have a Bachelor of Arts in Theater. So I have so much useless history theater knowledge that I try and bring in at every opportunity. And Oedipus Rex and like my knowledge of like traditional tragedies and stuff is also stuff that Tolkien would have known. So I really like being able to draw those comparisons into the larger storytelling landscape. To see how those things function. Yeah.
That's a really interesting way to tie it together. You're absolutely right in terms of Tolkien's own storytelling and, you know, all of the classics and all the old myths that he would be drawing on, everything from the classics to, you know, Norse myths to the Kalevala to the Poetic Edda and Prose Edda. I mean, it's just, it just never stops. And I really especially think that's interesting coming from somebody who, you said I might not like the answer because you started with the films. I'm not surprised, you know, age-wise, you look like somebody who probably grew up watching the films. And so I think, all right, no big deal. You came to the books and you talk as somebody who knows the books and who knows Tolkien very well. And even though your background is film and theater, you come at this very much as somebody who loves it for the literature aspect of it. And I think that shows in the videos, you know, both sides, the fact that you know it and the fact that you can kind of talk about it from those both perspectives. But good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you so much.
Where can people find your work and follow you?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube at Jess of the Shire, formerly known as Time Hobbit, also on Instagram by the same name. By the time this is out, I will have a Patreon, so you can also find me there for some bonus content.
Good.
Yeah, I think that's most of the places where I am.
Good. All right. Well, I hope that folks follow you. It's been entertaining to watch your videos, and now I think I'm going to have to go watch your Lord of the Beans one.
You'll have to let me know what you think. I'm dying to know.
I will. Folks, that is it for today's Fandom Friday, but come back next week to meet another of your fellow Tolkien fans and maybe even learn what niches of the community you might be interested in exploring or contributing to. And if you're interested in joining me here on today's Tolkien Times for a future Fandom Friday, let me know by emailing bartleman@theprancingponypodcast.com. Please visit patreon.com/Tolkien Times to learn how you can support the show and get an ad-free feed, a monthly hangout with me, a bonus weekly episode, and a lot more. And please join me again tomorrow on today's Tolkien Times as we wrap up this week with Silmarillion Saturday. If you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Please follow or subscribe in your podcast apps and follow @Tolkien Times on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Finally, as Faramir, and this would be book Faramir, by the way, says, go with the goodwill of all good men.